With increasing pressure from private payers scrutinizing payments to you, the medical practice, as well as constant and annual payment reductions from Medicare, we have to find ways to work smarter and not harder. I'm going to discuss a way to save a ton of money in credit card merchant processing fees for medical practices in this video. You can use the savings to improve your infrastructure, increase wages for your staff, and grow your practice. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Lin, a solo practice private urologist in Gilbert, Arizona, also your humble host of the Thriving Urology Practice Facebook group, where we crowdsource practice management solutions for everyone's benefit. And I created this group many, many years ago as my way to pay it forward to help my fellow urologists, urology practices, staff members on pretty much anything and everything related to urology. All right, as always, if you have any questions, comments, agreements, disagreements, feel free to leave them below and I will try to get to them either during the live stream or on the replay. All right, so what is the problem? The problem is practices are losing anywhere between 3 to 3.5% on merchant credit card charges anytime you take payment from a patient and the patient pays you with a credit card. And let's say for instance, a charge is $100 and the patient presents a credit card to you. You're not getting the $100. Your practice is only getting about $97 to $96.5, depending on how much you've negotiated with your merchant credit card processor, because you're getting charged around 3 to 3.5% anytime someone uses a credit card. So these fees are called merchant processing fees. Merchant processing fees. And in order to accept credit card payments, merchants, medical practices, stores, etc., have to pay 3 different fees. Believe it or not, that 3%, 3.5%, you're paying 3 different fees. Number 1, interchange fees, and this goes to the bank. And believe it or not, the interchange fee changes annually. All right, the second fee that you pay is something called an assessment fee. An assessment fee goes also, guess what, to the bank. And lastly, processing fees. Now, among the 3 fees, interchange, assessment, and processing, the processing fee is the only one that is negotiable. You usually have to go to the merchant processor to negotiate that fee. And it could be in terms of the transaction cost, the monthly service charge that they charge you, etc. But that is the only fee. The processing fee is the only fee that is negotiable. These fees go to the banks, the card issuing bank, the card payment network, and the the payment processor. These 3 fees, as outlined just now. You may be thinking, what in the heck is going on? Now, gas stations have been doing this for, I think, a decade, because they have figured out that they can offer one fee if you pay with cash versus credit card. They've been doing this for a long time. It's called a cash discount. If you pay with cash or with debit card, they can charge you less because the cost to accept that payment in terms of processing fees is lower if you're paying cash. If you physically are paying with a greenback, that is obviously the lowest cost to the gas station, and in this case, to you as the medical practice. The next least costly will be using a debit card to pay you, and then the most expensive will be using a credit card. And among the credit cards, the most expensive are American Express and Discover. Now, you can choose to not accept American Express or Discover in your practice, but that's up to you. Most American Express holders, most Discover card holders have another credit card that they use because they know a lot of merchants, a lot of businesses do not accept those credit cards. due to the high cost to the merchant if and when they accept those credit cards. Gas stations can offer a cash discount, meaning if you pay with a debit card, they can charge you less. But here's the problem when it comes to urology practices and medical practices. Most of us participate in a third-party payment scheme, meaning we deal with insurance companies. The amount that we are paid, the contractual agreement amount, is set between you and the insurance company. So you can't say, well, the insurance company, the contractual agreement rate is $100, but if you paid cash, we're only going to charge you $80. You can't do that for many reasons. So we can't do the cash discount. What we can do is something called credit card surcharging. Credit card surcharging. This is something that you are starting to see in a lot of restaurants and a lot of businesses that will tell you, they have clearly posted signs saying that, hey, if you use a credit card, you are going to be charged a percentage more, such as 3%, 3.25%, 3.5%. Credit card surcharging was legalized in 2013 after a class action lawsuit. And this stance was affirmed in 2017. So you can, in the United States, I'm talking about the United States, because in Canada, the rules changed. They recently allowed credit card surcharging, and I believe it may be provincial. But in the US, you can credit card surcharge. It was legalized in 2013 and upheld again in 2017. Not all 50 states allow credit card surcharging. Almost all states allow this. Right now, 48 out of the 50 allow surcharging. Only Connecticut and Massachusetts do not allow surcharging currently at the time of this recording. So obviously that may change by the time you're watching this. Who knows? But check with your individual states. Only Connecticut and Massachusetts, as far as I know, based on my research, do not allow surcharging. All other states, you can surcharge. You may be thinking, great, I'm going to charge 3% or 3.5% extra on top of the contractual agreement and be able to collect that, or whatever the patient deductible may be, unmet deductible, co-insurance, co-payment. You want to charge more percentage-wise, and you want to make money on that. Well, bad news. You cannot profit on surcharging. As a matter of fact, all the money that you charge the patient in surcharging gets passed directly to the merchant processor. You do not get to, the way I want to do it, I don't even want to touch the money. I don't want to ever see the money, because that means I have to deal with it. And the headache, the fact that I may make money on the float by collecting it, passing it through my bank account. I don't even want any evidence or any perspective, viewpoint of impropriety that I'm profiting even a penny from the surcharging. And you can't do that anyway. So the practices and businesses that want to surcharge, you cannot profit on the surcharging. In addition, so I can't profit. So obviously, well, maybe not obviously, some businesses don't care. They say, well, we'll charge 3%, 3.5%, whatever it may be. But the more that I charge, the more the patient is being punished, the more the customer is being punished, while making the banks rich, while making the merchant processors rich. So in my opinion, in my view, I want to find the best deal for the patient. And also, I want to charge the least amount possible for the patient. Depending on the merchant processors that you engage with that allow surcharging, that may or may not be possible. So there are tons of merchant processors, and they all charge varying amounts. I want to find the best deal for the patient. If I can find it for 3%, that's great. If I can find it for lower, that's even better. But I don't want to punish the patients by surcharging. I want to find the best deal if they want to use credit cards. So the search is on. this week, I'm meeting with 2 different merchant processors to see what they have to offer. So you may be wondering, why do the surcharging? Because, simple, it may save you tens to hundreds of thousands annually on processing fees, depending on the amount of money that you put through, the amount that you collect from the patients using credit cards. Now, we had a staff breakfast meeting that we tend to do about once a month or so. And I asked my front desk person, and she said about 98% of patients pay their responsibility, their financial responsibility, with a credit card. So you can just imagine, and I'm sure those of you who are astute, you're looking at your credit card processing fees every single month, and then you know on average how much you are getting charged, and also how much money is being put through the credit card processing system. Some people may say, well, this 3%, 3.5% that you're having to pay as a practice or as a business, some people say that, well, that's the cost of doing business. Well, the cost is going up and up and up. And a lot of these costs are now being passed on to the patient or customer, because with decreasing margins for medical practices, and also the benefits of using the credit card mostly go to the credit card user for perks such as miles, airline miles, cashback discounts, and things like that, or other benefits, virtual money that they can use to buy other things. I remember we collected a bunch of credit, virtual credit, if you will, with a particular MasterCard that I had, and the treadmill machine that I have right now was purchased using that perk, if you will. So these benefits mostly go to the credit card user. And the question is then, why you, the business, is paying and subsidizing somebody else's benefit, right? So credit card benefits the cardholder. If the customer or the patient does not want to incur the 3% or 3.5%, whatever the merchant processing surcharging fee that you negotiated with your processor, if the patient doesn't want to pay the extra charge, it's his or her prerogative to pay with cash, check, or debit card. So you are giving the patients a choice. You may be thinking, okay, well, credit cards, they incur a 3.5% charge. And if anytime patients or anyone has to pay more, you are going to drive them to use some other form of payment, such as a debit card, cash, or a check. I'm guessing that most of us don't have a lot of don't carry a lot of cash, and I certainly don't carry a checkbook with me. Most commonly, they're going to switch over to a debit card. Now, debit cards, from what I understand, you cannot charge the patient anything extra. So what happens now is you are driving the patients to use more debit cards when you utilize or implement credit card surcharging. A lot of merchant processors will offer, they will say, hey, merchant surcharging, great, we offer it. Here's the percentage if the patient uses a credit card. Now, when it comes to debit card, because you're now driving patients to use debit cards, merchant processors will offer, maybe they'll say 1% charge plus, like say, a quarter per transaction anytime a patient uses a debit card. Now, who pays for that 1% on the total debit card charge and the 0.25% transaction charge? You can't charge the patient. This is from what I understand. You now, the business, the practice, you are now paying the 1% plus the quarter per transaction. So you're shifting paying 3 to 3.5% to 1% plus a quarter per transaction when you start using surcharging. So the benefit to you is that you are saving on the difference between the 1% shifting to debit cards and your current merchant processing charge. So that's the difference. In addition, your merchant credit card processing company may charge, in addition to the 3.5% merchant processing, the surcharging, the 1% for debit card transactions, plus a quarter per transaction for debit card transactions. In addition to those, they may charge a monthly service fee. This service fee is obviously negotiable. I have heard anything anywhere between $65 down to currently $25. Again, negotiable. I think it's kind of ridiculous to have to pay a monthly service fee to merchant processors for using this type of a setup. It's, again, they are benefiting, they're making a crap load of money for doing this. And I think over time, the cost will come down. Because currently, with the merchant processors, it's a race to the bottom. And now with this new-ish type of merchant processing with the new surcharging scheme that is becoming more and more popular, a lot more merchant processors are creating this type of a setup. A percentage charge for credit card plus debit card 1% plus a quarter percent per transaction for debit cards plus a monthly service fee. So whenever you shop around, you want to try to negotiate the lowest rate possible when it comes to these charges. Now, as far as how, number one, you want to find the credit card processor that gives you the best deal, the lowest surcharge amount for credit card, and the best deal on debit card transactions, as well as hopefully no ridiculous service fees per month. In addition, before you start surcharging, you have to notify Visa and MasterCard. And I will link in the comment on how Visa wants you to implement credit card surcharging. Lastly, there are specific signages that you have to post at your place of business, and also specific line item on the credit card receipt to notify the patient that you are charging a surcharge. When I'm looking for a merchant processor to do this, there are several requirements. Number one, obviously, I want a web payment link, which allows for processing of online payments by patients. Number two, I definitely want to have credit card on file capabilities. For those recurring payments, just think Amazon, one-click buy. Patient sees you, they see you for follow-up, and the patient simply says, well, just charge it on a credit card that I have that I used last time, right? You can say, oh, great, we have that on file. We're happy to do that. And here's the receipt for the payment that you just made. So credit card on file for recurrent payments, and also for those practices that offer payment plans. The credit card on file will allow you to say, hey, here's $1,000 balance that you have. We will work with you and break it down to 3 payments. You have the ability to easily set that up by keeping the credit card on file and setting it up through the software that this merchant processor offers. And number 3, obviously, physical terminals that are PCI compliant, that is a given. There are terminals that are wireless that you can carry to the exam room or elsewhere in your practice that don't require a physical connection. So look for those physical terminals if you need that. And number 4, I want secure text to pay, meaning I want the merchant processors to have the infrastructure to allow me to text a link for the patient to pay any balances due. Number 5, I want secure email to pay. I want the ability to email the patients so that they can make a payment for any balances owed to the practice. I want the ability to be able to text and email en masse, meaning at the end of the month or every 2 weeks or every week, anyone who owes a balance, I want to be able to click a button and say, send a text message or email to all these people so that they can make their payments to the practice. Number 6, I want an online interface, the portal that my staff interfaces with the payment processor. I want an online interface for voids, refunds, manual receipt generation, and also to process these credit card transactions. I want the ability to look at that very easily. I want robust reporting to be available using the online portal. And lastly, interface with my practice management system. So posting a payment made by the patient, mass email balances due for the payment, mass texting, like I mentioned, and also reconciliation by the payment processor using the system with my practice management system. I want the ability to be able to reconcile, to track payments and offer any refunds, etc. That interface has to be there, and it has to be robust and ideally easy to use with easy to understand language, so any new employee can implement this system. As always, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please leave them below. I'm creating this video more for you as well as to remind me as I go through this process, this journey of implementing credit card surcharging. I think I'm very early among medical practices in implementing this type of a procedure, and I may get blowback from patients. You never know. But I never shy away from being one of the first when it comes to running a better practice. And I hope this video is beneficial to you if you're thinking about credit card surcharging and saving tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars annually, depending on the size of your practice, of course. Lastly, I want to thank you for the privilege of your time. Please take care of yourself and take care of each other. Bye-bye.